listening to the Talk Box with Sign. You're listening to the Talk Box. Let's talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, you're listening to the Talk Box with Sign. You're listening to the Talk Box. Let's talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Talk about it.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to everyone. It is so good to see everybody in the place on today. Thank you for joining us on the Talk Box. We are appreciative, but you know what I say every morning? Every day above ground is a good day. It's another day to get some things right that we didn't have quite right on yesterday. And I just want to welcome my guest on today. Today is Fabulous Friday. And so we're just excited to be in the land of the living. And that we on top of the dirt and the dirt ain't on top of us. So I want to welcome my guest on today. I got my co-host back here with us, Devon Crutchfield, the visionary. How are you doing this morning?
All right.
And we also have Minister Sean Jones on the line on today. Speak to him, Sean.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm doing what I do. That's riding to work, right? Good morning. Glad to be here. And glad it's Friday.
Right. So we're here today, you guys. I just want to do a full disclosure on today. We're not here to offend anyone or anything like that, but in order for us to just cohabitate in this world that we're in, there are sometimes we have to have hard discussions. So we just want to have full disclosure right now that we are not trying to beat anybody up or do anything. We all three probably have different aspects, but today we're talking through transgender. And basically we're not even talking about you old heads. But we're talking about the kids, our children, in regards to how it relates to transgender. So we're gonna allow Dee to get us started this morning. Dee, I just want to tell you thank you again for coming on. You are such a great co-host, but how can you not be? You are a chip off the old block. So, but we're talking through transgender this morning. We know that transgender is ever present right now in our society. But me personally, when it comes to transgender in the kids and the children, I think it's very important for us to first learn how to love on people, even when we don't understand it, when we think that shouldn't be, or whatever the case is. I think that we all need to find a balance in that thing and love on one another regardless. Okay. D?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Totally. Honestly, when it comes to the kids, this is an issue that it's important to me, not because I have a transgender child or I have two girls, but I don't have a transgender child. And I don't know anyone that is transgender that I'm aware of. But for me, when it comes to these children and our children begin taking their own life because they wish that they had acceptance from the people around them, from their own parents, from people in their community, from their peers at school, to me, it becomes more serious, more important than what anybody else but those children and their parents feel about it. Honestly, when it comes to somebody, when they get to the point where they're willing to take their life over something that they want to do, they want to wear a dress, it's not hurting you at all, then to me the only rational answer is to let these people do what they want to do. And I cannot understand not allowing them to do that, because to me there is no there's more harm done to these children than could possibly be done to our society by letting a boy wear a dress. I mean, I just don't understand it.
Okay, Sean, where are you at on the topic?
I call this thing the transgender phenomenon, because it is truly that, Um, as you were talking, D, I was thinking about, I thought you were going to go a different direction. But it made me think about there is a young transgender girl that I've actually watched grow up on TV. I think her show comes on something on cable. Name starts with an R. I can't remember, but she was a child, a baby, right? And she felt that she was a boy, and born a girl, but felt that no, born a boy rather, but felt that she was a girl, and it is so embedded in her, and I was of the mind maybe society had influenced that, you know, but it was so embedded in her. That's who she was, even though she was in a boy's body. And so it is hard to argue what someone else feels, you know? And it's hard to argue that. How can I argue what you feel? Like you said, Sonia, even though I don't understand it, and that's not me, you know? Still, I cannot say that you are wrong. How can I say? How can I pass judgment? And let's not even go to the Bible at this point. Let's just say on a humanistic basis, you know, everybody has a right to live their lives. And if it's getting to the point where these kids are willing to commit suicide because they're not free to be who they are, I think that's very serious. And I think that's something that we really, just like you said, D, it's something we need to look a little deeper into, not be so judgmental about that whole movement. But it is a phenomenon in my eyes. I don't understand it. I really don't.
Yeah. Well, I can honestly say I don't fully understand the transgender movement. But I guess call me crazy. I have a different outlook on it with children versus the adults. Um, and so
Yeah, I
my
feel you.
concern is with the kids who feel like they are they're outcast and stuff like that. And I just don't think that that's good for any child, because childhood is hard enough without being stigmatized and ostracized from society. Now, do I agree with um, the homosexual aspect? But I think, this is me. Everybody, don't DM me. Don't get crazy. But y'all know this is a talk box. We gonna talk about it. I believe that homosexuality and transgender is really different. And the reason I believe
I do
that
too. I
is
do too.
because transgender is something on the inside, like you were saying, Sean, that they just feel like they're trapped in somebody else's body. And I believe this gonna get me in trouble. But I do believe that homosexuality is a spirit. And I think that there may be people who was born homosexual, but I do also think that there's a lot of people running rampant around here who is just bi curious. And you done ran up on that spirit done attached itself to you. And but from a transgender point, if I'm trapped in a in the wrong body, like like somebody who is schizophrenic. There's nothing that they can do about all of the voices that are in their head. Um, and so when you got a kid who feel like that they're trapped in another body, leaving the church aspect out, the Bible aspect out, that has to be a hard place to be. We already feel inadequate. We already
Didn't you
feel,
bring the church, the Bible in it?
all of that, So I'm just thinking, when it comes to the kids, I, you know, does it bother me to see a little boy in a dress? Yeah, but it's probably the way that we were brought up. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. And I do think that some things is a slippery slope. Now, what I wanted to discuss this morning, and I spoke briefly with Dee about it, is these transgender children and we allowing them to get replacements while they're a child. My baby feel like that he's a girl, so I'm gonna cut off some body parts and things like that. I do not agree with that, because if you think about it, if you ask your child on Monday what is your favorite ice cream, they might say vanilla. And you ask them on Thursday, what is your favorite ice cream? And they say butter pecan. So I do not agree with reassignment surgery for a child. I think that that's something that needs to be left when the children, when you're of age and you're grown and you've gone through all of this stuff, and then make a decision. Go ahead, D.
Yeah, I would say that as a general rule, if you're talking about changing the sex of a child, my understanding is that there may be some situations where they do like breast augmentation or something like that. But my understanding that full blown gender reassignment surgery isn't done for children. Have you all read any evidence that suggests that that's actually occurring for kids?
Well,
My
I
I
have
know that.
not.
Because there's a difference between taking a hormone to slow down, basically puberty blockers. There's a
Right.
difference between a puberty blocker, which is just postponing going through puberty, and actually making a lifelong decision about changing your gender. And so, if you are, as long as it's basically a temporary type of treatment, something that's reversible, and they could have irreversible puberty effects if they don't take the puberty blocker. I don't. It to me, it seems like a reasonable choice of action. Another thing too to keep in mind here is this is after you've got to go to therapy for all of this. You got to talk to doctors for all of this, and once all children and their parents go through that entire stage, it's not something where you just up and take these drugs, or you up and take and get any type of surgery. Even as an adult, you don't just up and get that done. And so if people are going through their due diligence, and the family decides that that's the best decision for them, I just don't. It doesn't seem like there is any permanent harm being done to these kids.
Mhm.
I have a couple of people that is making some comments, and I want to let them be known. It says, if a little boy is suicidal and believes he is a girl, he needs mental health, not a dress. Allowing a child to do what they want is not helping them. It's agreeing with their irrational thought pattern. I have so many kids that are confused and suicidal because their parents allowed them to make a decision too young instead of teaching them to embrace who God created them to be.
Can I talk about
And
this?
Oh,
yeah,
I have something to say on this, because
mm-hmm.
what I don't think people realize is the first thing that you would do if you care about your child and they start coming to you thinking that they're of the opposite gender, is you're going to go to a mental health professional upfront and early. The likelihood that these people, because they can't get the gender reassignment, they can't get the puberty
Right.
blockers without even
Exactly.
going through this process. So the
Right.
idea that a parent that loves their child is not, that's not going to be one of their first tools in their tool belt to try to address this issue is irrational to me. This is the same thing that we see with people who try to tell people, if you're gay, just go to therapy, and there's some way you can go to conversion therapy and get rid of the gay. This idea that these kids, if you give them to a mental health professional, the mental health professional is going to be able to
Right.
somehow talk them out of the idea
Exactly.
they're of the other gender is preposterous. If that could be
Right.
done, they would obviously do that. Nobody
Right.
is running around here trying to come up with ways to make these children's lives harder. And being transgender absolutely is going to make your life harder, all things being equal. And so this
Right.
idea that that's not the first thing that the parents try, that does not work. If you send them to a mental health professional, the mental health professional talks to them, and at the end of the day, they say, listen, I've talked to them, this is how they feel. And without making this transition, they're going to be depressed.
Mhm.
And there's no way around that. And
Mhm.
this is the best solution. So that this idea
Mhm.
that you can just talk it away or pray it away, it just doesn't work.
Okay.
You know what? Hey, let me say
Go
one
ahead.
thing here. I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking that the show I was talking about was Jazz, the life of Jazz, or something like that. I think it's on TLC or something like that. But I actually watched from this girl, this boy was a child, go through what we were talking about, and know he recently had a sex change, but it wasn't until um, he became older, but we went through the counseling, just as you was talking about, D, for many years, and then the hormone therapy, you know, um, and then that's still questionable to allow a child to go through the hormones, part of the procedure. They're still underage, So, at any rate, it is controversial, but yes, they do receive counseling. The only way you can have those things done is if you go through mental health counseling. It's quite a
Um,
phenomenon. I'm telling you.
Um, I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to keep up with all of these comments and don't get anybody lost.
Yeah.
Kiara Crutchfield said, "What about taking hormones?" And I think we kind of touched based on that. But the original person that I read, I think that's who this is. Please get the children help first. I have kids that had sex changes and grew up and was angry because they realized they didn't want it. But here, my friend who's on the line, and he's very outspoken, so I know he don't care. But Micaiah Chalet is on here, and Micaiah is homosexual. And I hope I'm giving the right title or what label or whatever, because they done got crazy about them labels too. But but he says I but this is a homosexual person's response. I disagree to allow children to do this. I think they should only be allowed when they turn 18, because this is a very big decision to make. Um, um, and counseling and therapy is definitely needed. So, and then the other person responded, I don't care what the world accepts, it's hurting these children. They are some of the most miserable, depressed children I've ever seen. Wait until they are adults. Then they are held accountable for their own decisions. I do agree. I agree that we as parents, it's a reason why God created us as the parent and them as the child. But we as adults need to make better decisions, not just for the ones who is raising the kids who feel displaced and feel like that they're another agenda. But what about you, D? You got two girls. What if they see a little boy in a dress, and and Chloe says, "Daddy, look, he got on a dress. He not supposed to wear a dress." So that helps to spread that misery there. So even if you're not the parent of the transgender, if you're the parent or the grandparent of children, I believe that we need to get back to the basics, which is love. I might not understand you, I might not agree with you, but I'm gonna love on you anyway. That will cut down a lot of the depression, a lot of the suicidal thoughts and stuff like that. And it's a way to tell somebody anything in love. That's the reason why the topic today is talking through transgender. And we may not even have a dog in the fight today, but we got to be careful, because every day that we get up, we get a year older. Our children get a year older. Some of us haven't met our grandchildren yet, and you don't know what that child is down the line. So before we mistreat any of our children, we need to remember that we too have kids who gonna have kids who gonna have kids. And if, because I have looked on when we said we were doing this topic, I started researching and doing some looks, and the hate with transgender people. And the truth of the matter is, you don't know if one of your kids or grandkids or great grandkids gonna have the same issue. So you gotta be careful when you throwing rocks, because one of them might hit your house down the line.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So I wanted to touch on a couple of things here before it gets too far away. Ebony James mentioned Dwayne Wade's son or daughter. That's a rumor, kind of a myth going around that says that individual had gender reassignment surgery, but they actually did not. They just changed their name legally. They actually did not have a surgery. And then as far as, was it Micaiah? Is it Micaiah, your friend? Okay. Micaiah was saying, I disagree to allow children to do this. And I'm having a hard time understanding, with the majority of what we're talking about is just temporary hormones.
No, he's talking about having the sex, the change.
But you can unless you're 18. So it's not like kids can do that anyway. So there's not like they my understanding is that does not happen here in the US.
Right. Exactly.
In the US.
That's what I understand also.
Yeah, so I mean that's a non-issue. That's not occurring, and I agree with them. They shouldn't be allowed to make very drastic changes to their body like that are irreversible until they get to some type of age that we all agree that they're capable of making a big decision like that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, D. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. So what do you think about the hormone of the underage children taking the hormone? You know, the guy taking the estrogen, the girl taking the testosterone. You know, to prep for the sex change. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are just on puberty blockers, like it not necessarily, if
Okay.
if all you're doing
Okay.
is suspending yourself where you are, so you're say 13, 14 years old, and your body is just going to act as if you stay 14 until you get to an age where you can actually move
Right.
whatever direction you want. I just don't see a problem with that.
Right.
I don't know why. I mean,
Is that right?
yeah, as long as it's not hurting the kid, because I'm always looking at the alternatives. That's all I care about. And I know that their life is more important than what I think they should do. Like there are people out here, when I see some of these comments, they're like, I don't care what they think. I don't care what the world accepts, et cetera, et cetera. At the end of the day, these kids and these parents are saying, for the good of my child, this is what's best for them. And I don't think anybody outside of that household is in a position to talk about what's best for them. And so if they say, whatever, all drugs have some type of side effects. So I'm sure that the hormonal
Hmm.
blockers are going to have some level of side effects. But at the end of the day, the studies are showing that kids' depression is going down with these treatments. Their suicidality rates are going down with these treatments. And with those types of outcomes, I just don't know how people can argue that it's not a reasonable approach.
I think what be happening is, again, we're in unfamiliar territory. Again, don't shoot the messenger. I also believe that for a long time, from a spiritual aspect, we've been rolling down this slippery slope. And so
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
initiates another door for hate
Hmm.
instead of love. This opens
Hmm.
up another
That's true.
avenue to throw people off and for us to get off of our balance.
That's
I
true. That's
believe
true.
that we all have a right and the authority to live an abundant life. But I
Hmm.
also know that when we can't see eye to eye, and when we can't communicate effectively, and when we can't agree to disagree, that
Hmm.
brews more hate. That brews more
Hmm.
dissension,
That's
and
true.
it throws the world into a handbasket of hell and
Chaos.
chaos.
Yes. Hmm.
And so I think that this was designed that way. My spiritual being just really believe that it's designed that way. But we who are spiritually mature and
Hmm.
just mature, period. Um, we gotta look beyond because ain't none of us perfect. Even us church folk
Hmm.
who
Hmm.
like to beat people over the head for
Hmm.
homosexuality and their sexual preference. But I
Uh-huh.
remember talking to a person that I care deeply about, and I asked them, what is the difference between a hoe and a homosexual? Nothing. So we gotta stop trying to uh uh cause, they're sinning. And what are you doing? None of us is perfect, even if we're looking at it from a biblical standpoint. I have a lot of homosexual friends. Micaiah Chalet is a friend of mine, but he knows that from a spiritual perspective, I don't agree with that lifestyle, but I love him as an individual because everybody got to meet their maker for themselves. And God tells us in his word that my thoughts are not like your thoughts, my ways are not like your ways. So I ain't got a heaven or hell to put nobody in, but I can give my opinion, my thoughts, whatever God unctioned me to give. But the thing that I know for a fact, without hesitation, when it comes to these transgender kids and their suicide and their depression and stuff, there's got to be a better way. There's got to
True.
be a
I
better
agree.
way
What do you mean?
to love on these
I agree.
children, because
Right.
it's not fair
What's not
for
fair?
kids to go through so much trauma. That's like when I was
That.
younger and I
Yeah.
was being molested. I so I'm just,
What
we
are
can't
you
help
saying?
the kids uh get 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 suicidal and that sort of thing. We gotta love on people and stop judging them and stop judging the
I
doggone
agree.
parents. Don't you think the parents are doing the best they can? When my last husband and I raised a homosexual son. My son was homosexual, and he wrestled with that thing because of his religious beliefs, and I had to break up arguments. And my son asked me, am I going to hell? Daddy said I'm going to hell. And that's when I told him, what's the difference between a hoe and a homosexual? Your daddy's a hoe, and you a homosexual. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God. I feel you.
You know,
I definitely feel your perspective. And the bottom line is that yeah, children, our children, society, they're suffering, they're struggling. I question why we're having these uh, types of issues, seemingly more so than in years past. I want to say society is at fault for you know shaping the mindset of the children and the parents, uh to, I don't know, explore, like biting off the tree of knowledge of good and evil, just exploring everything. I think society is at fault too. But the bottom line is that the children are suffering. you know they are committing suicide, and that's a very real thing. And even though we don't understand, I agree with you, D, when you're saying that that's a decision that really needs to be with the parents and their child,
It,
and the rest of us, including myself, loud mouthing and protesting. I don't do those things, but if I were to do those things, we're really kind of probably out of order. We need to
mhm.
probably look at our own lives and our own children and deal with that.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that's how I feel on that one.
I agree. And I was telling my friend the other day, I don't care if you're a conservative, Democrat, I don't care what you are.
Hmm.
You love your child, which most normal people do. When they come to
Hmm.
you with these issues, you're going to go and you're going to try to talk to a therapist and you're going to try to talk them out of it. Democrat, Republican, whatever you are, the first step is let's try to talk them out. And you're going to spend some time trying to do that. But if
Hmm.
you love your child, it does not matter what they are talking about trying to do, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. I hate to trivialize it, but I don't care what it is, how my child wants to dress. If they're sitting, and again, I'm not trying to trivialize this for the transgender community, but this is the point I'd like to make. If you love your kid, if I love my child, I do not care if the child wants to wear a bunny suit. I don't care. They want to wear a dress. If
Right,
they tell
right,
me day after day, I'm depressed,
right.
I can't wear my bunny suit, and I take them
You're
to the
right,
mental health professional and I try to talk them out of it. Every day I'm trying to talk them, but they're sitting there in a corner crying, talking about how
right.
they just don't want to live without this bunny suit, without this dress, without this la la la. And you think they're at risk of killing themselves? Anybody that loves their kid is going to say, you better go put the bunny suit on. I don't want
Put
to
it
see you
on.
without the bunny suit.
Hmm.
Don't come out your room without the bunny suit. Go put it on, keep it on. I do not care. If you love your child and they start talking about
Right.
killing themselves, that's the only thing to say once you've exhausted all other options. And a lot of these, and that's why I see on Fox News, for example, you even see conservative parents, Republicans who move and let their child wear a dress because they love their kids. And that's the
yeah.
only reasonable thing to do.
Well, I agree with that. But I also being in the house with someone who initially could not grasp the idea that they had a quote unquote different child. And I think that a lot of that comes from society and from a spiritual perspective. We are to, if when we label something as sin, we are to love the person but hate the sin. So that's getting a balance with what's going on. But what happens is society is shaping the minds of some of the parents. Now I did look at some things in regards to transgender children and realize that some parents, you said every reasonable parent, every loving parent would do this, that, and the other for their transgender, but society is shaping the minds of adults, which make them basically abusive to their children because they're ashamed of that kid. So they try to beat it out of the kid. They
Mhm.
try to do this, that, and the other out of the children, is what I was reading on yesterday, knowing we was
Mhm.
gonna
Mm-hmm.
talk about this
Mhm.
subject. So
That's true.
if all parents love their babies regardless of how they live, that's one thing. But when society is shaping the minds of the people, and get us off balance, that's a dangerous place to be.
That's
You know,
true.
when I read something, a man killed his transgender child because he said that that attitude was a demon, and so he had to kill it. And
That's a
that's what
whooping.
I'm
Did you say?
saying.
Did you say that, Sonia? Did you say that earlier?
Yeah,
Did you say
but
something like that earlier? It was a spirit.
yeah. But
Yeah.
here's the thing: it is a difference between uh um you praying for somebody's healing, deliverance, this, that, and the other, and being mean. It is a slip. I'm gonna say it again. It is a slippery slope for us Christians. I'm not talking about folk that don't, don't profess to be saved or whatever, but we ride a slippery slope. They said it's a thin line between love and hate. And as a Christian, we're supposed to be on the love side. But what
True.
I've seen is more and more Christians is tap dancing all over that line of love and hate. Because if you discourage a child, if you try to beat on a child to change its mind, if you doing all this stuff, that is not love. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not self-seeking. So as a parent, I got a transgender child, then I'm not, it's not self-seeking. So you embarrassing me acting like that, that's self-seeking. That's not love. We got to
Mm-hmm.
learn a balance, so that we can, I'm talking to y'all Christian folk now.
Right.
We got to learn a balance, how to love on people but despise the sin, regardless
Right.
of what it
I
is.
agree.
Let me tell you this story, and then I'm gonna be quiet and let y'all do y'all thing. Let me tell you this story. My baby boy, again, was homosexual. I say was because he was murdered. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, but I remember one time he was about 12 or 13, and him and his friends got caught stealing at Walmart. So Walmart calls us and say, we can need to come pick up our kid, blah blah. So we go and we go get him. During that time, your kid do something at the store, they call the parent. So we go get him, and he coming. I'm mad. I'm mad. I'm mad. You don't have no business stealing. What is wrong with you? Blah, 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 blah. And he started giving me excuses. He said, but mom, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I didn't steal nothing. It wasn't me. Me and my friends, we wasn't doing nothing. And it just dawned on me. I stopped in the middle of the street. I slammed on the brakes, and I turn around and I tell him, let me tell you what we're not going to do. You're not going to be a thief, a liar, and a punk, is what I said. Excuse me for if that's wrong label. That's exactly what I told him. You're not going to be a thief, a liar, and a punk. What we do is we try to cut our sin count down. We are all a work in progress.
Right.
And so we laughed about that for years to come.
Mhm.
Because he was like, well, I ain't no liar, ain't no thief, so
Oh
so
boy.
I'm talking to our Christian community now, because if
Yeah.
we get a
Yeah.
if we get a pen and paper and write down our so-called sins,
That
our
part.
list, Our list sometimes is longer than any transgender. Our list sometimes is longer than any homosexual. Baby, you know, that's why I said we got to learn a balance.
Yeah,
That
can
is so true. Go
yeah,
ahead, D.
yeah, and I wanted to kind of touch on one of I agree with what you're saying, Mom. And I also wanted to touch on one of the things that Sean was kind of talking about a minute ago, which was how is it that we find ourselves these issues coming up a lot more? Now, I believe I know why we find gay people and transgender people in the population a lot more, just because if people could get hurt or ostracized in the past for being a certain way, but now it's more accepted, I think you're going to find that more people are going to come out of the closet because, there were gay people all the way down,
Hmm.
for
There's
as long.
always been
Yeah, there's always been gay people. So
ancient. Yeah.
yeah, since ancient times. And
Hmm.
so, but the reason why I think we're seeing so much of it is because people, specifically Republicans in our country, are pushing culture war issues
True.
that actually don't impact hardly anybody. Like for example, transgender women in sports. There's almost no transgender women in sports, and yet if you turn on Fox News, you're hearing about these articles constantly. I'd heard one
True.
time that they couldn't even find a transgender person like at the high school level who was winning, to even like showcase them as an example of why this is a problem. As a whole in our society, these are basically non-issues on the
True.
broader scale.
True.
And part of the reason why they're even in like
That's true.
popular media is because Republicans have nothing else to talk about of substance on an economic, because what they really want to talk about is jobs, is building wealth, that kind of thing. And because they have nothing else to talk about, all they want to talk about is woke this, CRT that, gay.
Right.
They got nothing else to discuss. And then because we are, most of us, most Black people are Democrats, just, like 80, 90% plus or something like that.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
leftists tend to be, in my opinion, a lot more rational and a lot more caring. If you're attacking a group of people, we are going to come and stand up and say, leave those people alone. And so
That's right.
there's a
That's right.
responsibility that we have to come out and say, back off these people, leave these folks alone.
That's
But
true.
but if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be talking about this. So we have to understand the root of all this, which is just Republicans wanting to keep wealthy people
Political.
from being taxed. They don't want wealthy people to be taxed. And so they say,
Hmm.
y'all talk about this instead of talking about that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know what,
Well, let
D? It
me.
seems like the root of it is evil, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's an evil agenda.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
D, I want you to know that somebody said in the comments that you need to run for a political office.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
I agree.
Hey,
I
maybe,
do too. You got my vote. You got my vote, man.
I agree. I agree.
maybe one
But
day.
it is. But what it is too is the shell game. Hide the ball.
Mhm.
Shell,
Yeah,
shell, shell, shell. We don't
yeah.
want to talk about
Hmm.
this.
Mm-mm.
We don't want you to really see what
Right.
we're doing.
Right. Right.
Because in that aspect, you trying to push all of that agenda. Um, but you guys, I don't know if y'all saw it or not. This a little side note. Your boy Trump was
Yeah.
actually indicted.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
first president to be indicted. So with that being said, I really want everybody to be careful, especially Black and brown people. It
That's
may
true.
stir up a lot more issues, especially the transgender.
That's true.
Now,
That's true.
I, but I do got to
That's
push
true.
back on something that my son said.
Push back.
Um, I'm gonna push back.
All right.
I know that
Come on.
I know that you're saying that more people come out because they don't have to be in the closet. And I understand that, and I think that has some validity to it. But I also think from a spiritual aspect The Bible says
Mm-mm, mm-mm. Here we
that
go. Here we go.
in the last days, that there was going to be more drama, that there was going to be more hate instead of love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think
True
that
that.
it's the hate agenda because think about it, everything
True
that
that.
some people call taboo, everything is a fight now. Everything, not just transgender, not just this, not just that. And you wonder, Jews will not replace us. You know what? What in the world? It's a
Mm-hmm.
hate agenda that is spreading rampant. I'm trying to think of the last thing that they pushed because every so often it's rolling in cycles. It's rolling in
Mm-hmm.
cycles.
Hmm.
And
And it
and
will
and
continue. It will
and
continue to do
it's
so.
hate. It's
But
hate
but you
because
know what, Sonya?
we don't know how to love. Go ahead, baby.
I'm sorry, Sonya, you are right on it. And this will continue to happen until we who profess to be Christians, right, stand up. Stand up for righteousness' sake. A lot of times we sit back, like you said earlier, we sit back and we want to judge, we want to point fingers, we want to say, well, this is that, and we want to get an attitude, about that sort of thing. Quit being self-righteous. Quit. The Bible is what it is. It says what it says. And the most important thing that it says, the whole point, is an act of love. The whole Jesus story is an act of love, and that's at the root of everything. It's an act of love. It's an act of acceptance of everyone. It's an act of that. And we all got issues, Sonya. Like you said earlier, we've all got our stuff.
I know.
Everybody's got this.
What's
Say
your
what?
favorite sin? Everybody got a
What's your flavor?
favorite
What's your
sin
flavor? They got a
that they don't
flavor,
want
right?
to get
Everybody,
rid of.
come on now. Nor do they want exposed, and But
All
anyway,
right.
uh, uh, so everybody's got a flavor. You know what I'm saying? So we're all in the same boat. All have sinned and fallen short. You know,
Right.
so let's spend more time on loving. How are we gonna love? Like you said, what did you say the topic was through transgender? What did you say it was? The topic,
We're
True.
talking through
talking
transgender.
through. Yeah, let's love
Yeah.
through all of our issues. And I bet you, if we love through all of our issues, we will effect change in our society. We really will.
Yeah.
Even over the Democrats eventually. Some of them, not all of them. Yeah, some of them. I mean, not Democrats, Republicans, I meant.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I'll say this about that, you guys. When it comes down to it, the spirit is just running rampant. The spirit of hate is just running very rampant. Um, and we it starts at home. It starts within us. The things that we've been talking about here on the talk box. It transforms your heart when the more and more we get into it. I don't push my religion on anyone because I'm not religious, but I am very spiritual. And I believe that when we can love on each other and stuff, it says in the word, love covers a
Yeah.
multitude of sins. And so
That's right. That's
how
right.
can I stone you
Right.
for something
Mm-hmm.
and then don't get in the mirror and stone myself? Because every now and
Mm-hmm.
again, I
Mm-hmm.
don't care how saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost you are, life will happen and we'll respond incorrectly. We'll make some bad decisions. We'll fall down and scrape our knee. We'll do certain things, and so we need to stop being so self-righteous and try to talk things out and find a solution. You know?
So one of the things you were talking about is the spirit of hate, and I wanted to touch on that real quick because
Mhm.
we got to understand that right now in our society, social media is what is driving a whole lot of these conflicts. And the
Mhm.
reason for that is basically if you go to TikTok or Facebook or Twitter, wherever you are, you get your media from, disagreements and conflict, particularly among right wing people, drives more engagement. And so Facebook is constantly pumping media to you, and all of these media outlets are pumping stuff that you act like you like. So if you're running around looking at videos talking about the gay agenda or the transgender agenda or CRT or woke, those media outlets feed you more of that. And it causes us to, the spirit of hate, as you all are putting it, it causes it to spread rapidly because that gets a lot of clicks and a lot of people paying attention to that. And one thing that I wanted to say, I know we talk about religion. I'm not religious at all. And one of the things that I would say is we can't really rely on that to kind of help dissipate some of this, because in the long term, even back when white folks had slaves, they were doing it, under the auspices, under the umbrella of religion. Religion has been so these people who are spreading this hate, they call themselves religious. They call themselves Christians. We can't rely on, I think, religious ideas and whatnot to kind of get us there as a principle, because people are crazy and they're rationalizing everything we do, everything that they do. I think the big thing is we just have to leave people alone. If they're not hurting, just leave them alone. You don't have any input on their life. Like if my child sees another kid wearing a dress, so what? My child winds up, my child has a 15% higher likelihood of being gay because gay people are allowed to live and get married. Why do I care about that? That's her life. Is it my responsibility to be a certain way? Of course not. Is there even any evidence that suggests that's even going to happen? No. But if it did, does it matter? No. So why do I care? At the end of the day, it's a bunch of people talking about stuff that it makes no sense for them to care about. It's not good for the world at all.
Yeah, I agree.
I big time agree with that. No, big time agree with that. And that's one of the things that annoy me so much about. I'm trying to keep it with us Christians. We would talk about so many homosexuality. There's so many other things. And it really doesn't have nothing to do with us if we're not participating in that. You know what I mean? Your job is to pray for folk, is to love folk. I mean, really love folk. I know fake love. Oh, I love them. No. I mean, really love them. Be there for them if need be, and all that sort of thing. If some of you do some of the things that I have done and probably still do, you probably would look at me a lot differently. You know what I mean? And that goes for all of us.
Right.
I know that's right. I want to say this. I want to say this because of what you just said, D. I do ministry, but I am not religious, and I think I'm very spiritual, and I try to be Christ-like. But we got folk who is cloaked up under the label of being a Christian who are not Christ-like.
Absolutely.
Of course.
And so that's why I kind of step back on that aspect. So if you really want to be Christ-like, if you really want to be a Christian, you should actually be Christ-like. So I would imagine if Jesus was here walking around and he saw somebody, he saw somebody finna stone a transgender child because they were transgender. I would imagine he would stoop down and kneel on the ground and start pretending to write in the sand. And he would look up and say, "Ye without sin
Now, come on.
the first stone." And then
Real talk, sister.
From the oldest, because it would be a good thing. The older you are, the wiser you should be. And from the oldest on down to the youngest, I would imagine that a whole lot of stones will be dropped to the wayside.
I know, right?
You knew that you were going to be stoned as well. So again, my thing is learn how to love and teach your children and your children's children to love. We had the shooting in Nashville. and they said it was a transgender person, and they puffed that up. But let me tell
Right.
you something. That was a sick person. I don't care if they was transgender, black, white,
Right.
green, or
Right.
yellow. That was
Right.
an issue, not
Mhm.
Right.
just because of them being
Right.
transgender.
Yeah,
Right.
it's-
So
Emotionally disturbed people come
yeah,
in all kinds of forms. Yeah.
mhm,
Mhm. It's true.
definitely.
Sonia, you were saying that oh God, you were saying so much I lost my thought there. Y'all go ahead. I'll get it back.
So one thing
I
I
was
want
saying so much.
one thing I want
Yes.
to do is because a lot of people, like I saw somebody say that being homosexual isn't natural. Okay, look,
Almost like, oh,
same sex is not natural. Okay, we got gay people who have existed for as long as we have written history. We've got all kinds of animals that are gay. We got gay penguins over there adopting eggs that are orphaned. Okay, how can you say that they're gay and homosexual, that's something unnatural when it happens in the animal kingdom and it happens
in
in
nature. Yeah.
yeah, it happens in nature and it happens in our society. So there's nothing unnatural about that at all. That's something that absolutely happens naturally. And if God didn't want people to do it, why did he make them like that? If God
Okay,
didn't want, hold up. If God didn't want penguins, little boy penguins, little men penguins kissing little men penguins
Here
and
we go.
adopting eggs, why did he make those
And
penguins?
lions. Mhm.
okay. It's
Why?
almost time for us to close, but I want to push back on that. I do believe in God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. I believe that when He said, "Let us make man in our own image," that the family unit was Him duplicating or making a replica of Himself. When He said that He took a woman out of the side of the man and created the family, because he said that it is not good for man to live alone. And then he told them to go and be fruitful and multiply. I believe that he was replicating the Trinity, basically the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. The replicating with man being the head, which is God, with the woman being the Jesus aspect of the Trinity, and the kids being the Holy Spirit of the Trinity. So he replicated himself, and he did that for more than one reason. I was just watching somebody explain that and break that down. So, but I believe that that when the word says that we were all born into sin, we all came in imperfect because of the fall of Adam in the first place. So I can't agree with well, if God didn't if it was unnatural, then God wouldn't have made it. No, we all born
Can
into,
we,
So
Sonia?
but we can be healed and delivered from anything. But I can just agree to disagree, because I love my baby, but he know me and him don't see eye to eye on everything.
I'm just saying. I mean,
You know, this could actually be a topic for another day.
yeah,
You know,
could be. I think it could be.
There's a-
Yeah, because I
mhm.
mean, it sounds like to me if he didn't want that to be an issue, and it could be people in sin and whatnot, and that's fine. I'm just saying it doesn't seem like it's hard to say it's unnatural. You can say, well, it's natural, but God doesn't want us to do it. You can make a lot of arguments for it anyway, but either way, the idea that it's unnatural or that there's something wrong with it is it doesn't make sense to me. And another thing too about multiplying and whatnot is a woman can choose not to have a child. She can choose not to carry her genetic line forward. Some women are not able to. Same thing for men. That doesn't mean that they're living in sin or that they're doing anything wrong. So just because you can't multiply if you're with a man, and plus we got plenty of babies that need to be adopted. So I mean, I don't see any issue with it. I just can't.
I
I
know,
can't do it.
I know.
And
You
then
know, we
and,
got
and,
out on that.
and I want to say one time, because we talk about this all the time. I just have to say, hell is a cruel and unusual punishment for sin, and we could talk
You
about
know
that
what?
because that's
I can't wait.
eternity.
I
That's
can't wait till
eternity.
we get on this.
And nobody who loves you would send you to hell for eternity to burn for eternity. Maybe 1,000 years,
D
maybe 100,000,
D.
but not eternity. They either don't love you or it's not true. That's all I'm saying.
I want to get back with you. I definitely want to.
Yeah,
Hey, listen, I
me and him
definitely want to
debate on
revisit
that.
that.
Yeah, me and him
I
debate on
definitely
that
want
all
to
the time.
revisit that.
But I'm gonna say
But
this
let me
because
say
it's
let me
time
say
for us
this
to
before we
close
go.
too. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
can I say one thing? Real quickly
Go ahead.
before we go. Um, uh, we spend so much time on on this kind of stuff, and we have debates and theological issues and everything. And the root of the matter is, again, like you said, Sonya, love. We have to learn how to love each other. Homosexual is a natural. That you know, that's a that's an ongoing debate. You know what I'm saying? We need to learn how to love each other.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree. But this has been great, you guys. Here on the Talk Box Show, we have so much fun when my son come, and then my brother, my little brother Sean Jones on the line. But we want to thank you guys for tuning in with us. I hope that we have said something to help you along life's journey, because our ultimate goal here on the Talk Box is to help drive you, regardless of who you are, regardless of your gender, your age, your financial status, to help drive you into abundant living. So
Yeah.
I hope that we've said something to help you along life's journey. Again, I hope we didn't offend anybody, but this is the Talk Box, baby, and we here to tell it like it TI is. So again, thank you, Devon, for coming on. Thank you, Sean, for coming on. We're going to come on
Thank you.
again. We're going to have this spiritual debate too with my son, because yeah. But
I want to get
anyway,
in on that. I want to get on that, Doc. Mhm.
because every good idea ain't a God idea. I'm just saying. But anyway, thanks so very much for coming on. It's your girl Sonya here on the Talk Box. We appreciate you coming. And just remember to be prayerful and always walk in love. God bless you, and you have